This podcast is brought to you by the Dunfield Retirement Residence, a casually elegant retirement community located at Yonge and Eglinton in the heart of Midtown Toronto. Customized living options complement your independent, active lifestyle. Learn more at thedunfield.com.
And we were running underneath with all of our Torahs. As bombs were dropping, we could hear sirens. We were running with the Torahs. To me, I never felt even afraid one moment.
Shalom, shalom, and welcome to Rivkush, the CJN podcast celebrating Jews of color. Today is Chaya Lev. I gotta tell you, coolest bio ever, okay? So here it is. Chaya Lev is a 40-plus-year-old goddess, learning, loving, and reclaiming life on her own terms in Israel, and healing her soul with dance and storytelling on the comedy scene. Chaya is an amazing person. I've been, kind of fangirl and following her on social media, and I hear good things about her in that wonderful Jewish world that is ours. So it is my pleasure to speak with you today, coming from Barcelona.
Barcelona. You have to say Barcelona.
Barcelona.
With the list.
Barcelona. I can't do it. Barcelona. So welcome, Chaya.
Hi, thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
So how are things?
Things are amazing. I took a little break just to see a friend who's lives here in Barcelona, but I live in Israel. I live in Jerusalem, and in Jerusalem, it actually is pretty quiet because we don't get so much sirens. But the world is a mess. The world is a mess. What can we do?
The world is a mess.
The world is a mess.
We will be talking about that because I need to get your perspective on all this stuff that's going down. But before we go there, I want to have people get a sense of who you are. So first of all, how did you end up in Israel?
Oh, I get so cute. I got this question a lot. I converted to Judaism about 15 years ago. And that's from starting the process to Mikvah.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the rabbi, just in his face, like, one day I will live in Israel. And he kind of laughed, like, that's the golden egg. And I said, yeah, because you should be in Israel. And literally, I don't know how I would have done it. But then I got a bout of breast cancer. And I said, Hashem, this is my chance to do something different in my life. And then I made aliyah from there. And I've been here ever since. I've lived in Israel for 7 years, and it's been such an amazing journey.
So tell me a little bit about what you do, your dance, and how it heals the soul. And please elaborate a little bit more on that for me. And your love of dance, obviously.
Oh, my love, it's not even my love of dance, it's my love of life and my love of movement. And I wanted to always be a dance teacher. And I am my mom's ninth daughter. And, by the time she got to me,
I'm sorry, how many daughter?
My ninth child. Not ninth daughter, but I'm a daughter of, and I'm number 9. But we have boys and girls as a mix.
Wow, and I thought being
9.
Woo! And I thought being a family of 4 girls was a lot. That is a lot. Okay, so you're 9th?
No, we're a mix. And, she didn't have a lot of energy for me by the time she got. She put me in like dance class and ballet and tap. So I feel like I have a little bit of bastique, like a base. But I always wanted to be a dancer. And so it didn't happen. My mom said, listen, is she going to be the next Misty Copeland? And the teacher said, hell no. So then that was it. And when I got breast cancer, I said, if I move to Israel, I want to create a dance movement that people can understand and enjoy and love. And this is where I am. So I kind of created the Chaya dance movement in the north of Israel where I made aliyah. And basically it's just about opening up your soul and just connecting to yourself and really giving yourself a chance to heal internally.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So the next time I'm in Israel, you'll have to we'll have to do that together. I love dance. I would never call myself a dancer, but I love dance and movement and music.
But we're all
dancers and things like that. So
you are a dancer.
Yeah,
we're all dancers. That's That's my motto, is that
That is
everyone
true.
is a dancer. If you can move your body, you're a dancer.
I guess
Even if you can move your finger.
fair
Because
point.
and you
Fair point.
You can tie it in with like Torah. You know, we left with timbrel and shaking and dance and this ability to sing to Hashem. We are dancers. Right now, I'm working with women from the South. So I'm working from displaced women. About 40 families have come up from, I don't know if they were right near Kibbutz Be'eri or Kibbutz Aza or Gaza in English, Aza in Hebrew and Arabic, but they were really close.
I'm used to Aza,
suffered.
yes.
I'm working with them, and it's just a blessing. They're so full of life.
Considering what everybody's gone through, that's pretty good to hear. Speaking of which, even in moments for myself, even in moments when I'm doing other things, October 7th will never leave my brain. And
wow,
the world is upside down. I think it was always tilting. Now it's kind of upside down. And so I want to hear from I just want to hear from your perspective, you know, as an Israeli, as a JOC living in Israel. So it almost seems, in some ways, seems ridiculous to say, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Because a lot of us are just feeling like crap. But I want to know your take. You know, let's start with when you first realized that things were just like really unreal on October 7th.
It's so crazy because this year I turned 50. My Hebrew birthday was the holiday, Simchat Torah, Shmi Atzeret B'chutz La'aretz, outside of Israel. And that was my actual Hebrew birthday. And so I had a lot of friends that I live in Jerusalem, and I took a place in Tel Aviv, and I had friends from a lot all over Israel coming down to celebrate, because I go to the most fun Beit Knesset in all of Tel Aviv. And so I was going to be doing the bar, because we obviously Simchat Torah, so we got Torah and vodka and a bar, and it's amazing inside the Beit Knesset, and food, and you know, we dance all day in the Torah, we dance all night, whatever. And so that night, it was so crazy because we danced in the street in the night, they pulled the Torah out, we went outside, and then everyone said, let's meet tomorrow, the next day. So the next day, I didn't hear anything. So I didn't hear a thing. I didn't realize that sirens had been going off since like 6 or 7 o'clock that morning, because the apartment that I was staying in is like back. So I walked to the Beit Knesset, and it's just so strange because it's Simchat Torah. I thought more people would be out, and I didn't get it. And then when I got to Beit Knesset, I saw the rabbi's son, who is in the army, and he's in the front doing bitachon, which is security. And I was like, what? And I said, what are you doing, bitachon? And he's like, yeah. He thought I knew, and I didn't know what was going on. So I go inside, and I tell my friend, like, oh, I'm here to do whatever. He's like, you know, happy birthday. And he said, Mommy, they're out there cutting people's heads. I said, what are you talking about? And then from that moment, and why did we know? Because the rabbi's son, everyone's Shomer Shabbat, but the rabbi's neighbors have, they're in a thing, like if something happens, even though we're Shomer Shabbat, our phones are off, just come knock on our door because our son is in the military, okay? And so that's what the neighbors did. The neighbors said, this is what's going on. And then it went to freaking chaos. Then we were with the tourists. They said, the people were coming by the Beit Knesset and saying, like, don't go outside. And we had 18, my Beit Knesset has 18 Torahs. Obviously, we bring them all out on Simchat Torah. Wow. And we were running underneath with all of our Torahs. As bombs were dropping, we could hear sirens. We were running with the Torahs. To me, I never felt even afraid one moment. It was like the most magical. And it wasn't so many people, but we still had so much joy. We still had so much joy and so much love and light with the Torahs. And I think I will never forget that moment for that reason, to see that our Katan, which is Katan Schwartz, and who sings beautifully. He's a Turkish Sephardi, whatever. And my Beit Knesset is mixed. It's like my rabbi is Ashkenaz, and you know, it's like French Algerian mix, Sephardi, whatever. But to see everyone with the Torah running underneath the safe places with the Torah to protect the Torah, I will never forget that. I will never forget it. I just will never forget it.
Wow.
And but basically from there on, it was just a day of like, we were there, Bacon Nest, I went home, we had some food, we came back, and da-da-da. And then we went home, and then there was a street between the Bacon Nest and where I was staying that there was a bomb that touched down, blah, blah, blah. And now we're 40 days into a war that we will definitely win. But we're 40 days into a war. It was really tough for me to come to Barcelona for a couple of days to just take a breather and to see a friend. And she persuaded me to come here because I love her so much. But I wanted to be in Israel with my people. I just went right now to a place called, I don't even know the name of it, Ben, I think it is. And it's in Barcelona. It's a culture place, but normally it's open. They had it was still open, but they had half of the security gate down. They're vetting because we are Jews and people around the world are being, I saw Palestinian flag just now, which is fine. I pop your flag up in the square. It's really interesting being abroad with this war going on. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I want to get me some pepper spray because if somebody even tries me one bit, I'm gonna spray the shit out of their ass because I'm not in this mood to play these games with none of these people.
I hear you. You'd mentioned about being abroad. As you know, I live in the diaspora, and I'm sure.
Where do you live?
I'm in Toronto, Canada. So
okay, come on.
I'm sure you've heard of all the things that Jews are going through, whether it's on the university campuses, as we walk down the street, as we try and run our businesses and just really do our day-to-day stuff. And, what I'm finding too is there's these two factions, right? And I find too, and you can give me your perspective on it, but sometimes I feel as a Black Jew, I'm kind of also caught in this weird middle-ish ground that people put me in, whereas pick a side, like Palestinians are people of color, Israelis are X, Y, and Z. So why are you not, hanging with your real brothers and sisters and all that stuff? So how do you see this happening? Or, what is your take on this?
The Western world, first of all, the Western world, as far as America, we are a colorist society. We don't understand anything class. Black people, white people, blackness and whiteness. Unfortunately, across the globe, that is not what the situation is. In Israel, when you talk about whiteness and the Palestinian people, many Westerners would not be able to even be able to tell a Palestinian across from an Israeli. Okay, let's start there. They would not be able to tell the difference. Okay, because this is a region of the world where there has been many, many movements and many, many bodily exchanges. They say Jews control the media. No, Hamas is controlling the media, obviously, because we've made Israel the white oppressor when Jews are not only white. And by the way, Jew of color sounds really crazy in Israel because it's not even about your color, because a Jew of color could be Taimani, could be Moroccan, but sometimes it's at my Beit Knesset, it's what's your nusach, okay?
Exactly.
So when you go to my Beit Knesset, we are nusach Ashkenaz Sephardi, and in that Beit Knesset, you see everybody from the British guy who's Nigerian to me, to French, Algerians, to, this idea of black and white and colorism is, I'm not saying that Israel doesn't have it. I'm saying that it's a very Western American concept. And because Americans, especially Black Americans, they don't understand, they don't know history. They don't understand, they're talking about colonizers. The Arab Empire, okay? The Arab Empire has 22 or maybe 23 countries, or maybe 24 even. And the Arabs in this region are the British. They are the colonizers. Do you understand? There is a gazillion billion Arabs around the world. There's only 20 million Jews. I'm just throwing random numbers. You can find your own numbers.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, this idea of white Jewish colonizers. First of all, the Jewish people are from Judea. That's why we're called Jews. We are from Judea. Okay, the Jewish people have been on a journey. They have moved, and we have been everywhere in this world. So, when you talk to somebody today, I was on a radio station with a South African. He was a white South African, is what he told me. And there's a difference between white South Africans and black South Africans. And when you say to a South African apartheid, they definitely don't mean that with Arabs being able to drive and be my doctor and be in parliament. The Americans drive me nuts because the ignorance is you can't talk about something that you could never understand. Talk about mass shooting and dye and chemicals in your food. Stick with that.
Stick with what you know.
Girl, stick with what you know. So
Yeah.
that's hard because you hear Americans using words like genocide. I'm like, spell it. You can't have genocide when a population is going up. You fucking idiots. Excuse my French. You freaking idiots. You can't have genocide. And you want to talk about apartheid? Really? You want to talk about, and it's ignorant. You want to talk to me about Israel, about borders, when Egypt has the same, like, I can't have conversations with these people because they're not even on the level of basic understanding. They're usually using, regurgitating things that they've heard on the internet or whatever on 15-second TikToks. I don't have the strength. So first of all, how I know is because I know who I am, I know who we are, and I know that Israel did not want a war, and they are doing what they can for their people. And I know if it was America, Gaza, whatever you want to call it, would have been gone already. We would have flattened it out, call it collateral damage, and we would have moved on with our business. But Israel, we are trying our best to understand that we are in a really sticky situation. And look, I'm not taking it for Israel, but I know that at the end of the day, our people were hurt. And we cannot be in this region of the world not protecting our people. And we will protect our people just like the U.S. will protect their people, just like Canada will protect their people, Mexico will protect their people if they were in a war. But Americans cannot understand that because the biggest war that Americans have is the war of, should I have a carrot cake matcha or should I have pumpkin spice latte matcha from Starbucks? That is your biggest freaking war. That's your biggest issue.
Oh, dear.
So I don't expect you to understand what it's like when a bomb, literally, and they're not a bomb, they're rockets. There's a difference between rockets, which is Hamas is building out of water tunnels, and a missile, which are coming from the north of Lebanon, or where they're coming from freaking, Somalia. So, or wherever the hell. So I need Americans to just sit back and let us handle this. Just watch it because everyone's watching it like it's a tabloid show, but meanwhile, the Arabs are in Congo or wherever they are. They're in Sudan, mass murdering people. In Jordan, murders. People they've thrown gays off of the roofs of Gaza. No one's going to talk about that. No one's going to talk about Egypt not letting, anybody in. This is what's frustrating, is that the double standard, and it's just anti-Semitism and Jew hatred.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. Like,
Sorry, that was long.
No, it was no, because you touched on some things that people need to hear. I have been arguing about the improper use of just simple basic words like apartheid. It's like, calling Israel an apartheid state is an insult to those who did suffer under apartheid, which was a legal system.
Exactly.
A legal system, and like you said, if you have the right to work, to live, to eat, to sleep, to breathe, to whatever, then that is not apartheid. That is not apartheid. And
Exactly.
and even though you said, Americans, it extends to the diaspora in general, in my opinion. And I'm finding it exceedingly frustrating when I hear our Black brothers and sisters taking up on, I'll be blunt, on the side of terrorism, because right now it is a war against terrorists. And I think that's what makes this war so challenging for people to also wrap their heads around. It's not a conventional war of country versus country. It is a war of a country fighting terrorism, no different than after 9/11 when the US of A went and said, we have to crush Osama bin Laden and his people.
But it's just Jew hatred, and we we listen. The people that are hating Jews are part of, they're part of the story. They're part of the story, like everybody else. And at the end of the day, Hashem is the leader of this group, and we are not worried about a few haters. By the way, we're going to get through it, and like that's it. I don't have a lot to say. I don't have a lot to say because I have Hashem. Like I need to trust Hashem 100%. Right now, I don't know if the soldiers are asking between 1 and 5 a.m. Israeli time that we do Tehillim, and Tehillim 121, 123, 130. The soldiers are asking for prayer. They're asking for prayer as they go into this. And in the rabbis, we did last week, we did Vina Malkani 3 times at a certain hour. We are praying. We know this is a spiritual war, and we just don't. I can't work so much about those around me. I just need to do what I need to do,
Right. I couldn't agree more. So you were saying that you're working with displaced people coming up from the South. Can you elaborate a little bit more as to what?
So basically, there was a kibbutz, and they had not just rockets; they had murders on their kibbutz. So they had to move, to flee, leave their homes. And there's a hotel in Jerusalem, I won't say which one, that took the families in. And from there, once we have a lot of circulation going on, with people staying in houses. And if we know that people are getting displaced, we're trying to give them, food, water, entertainment, clothes. We're Jews. We're coming together in this Jewish country, and we are fighting to bring each other together. So there's a group called Na'amat. Na'amat is a Jewish women's organization. It's a Hebrew-speaking organization. There's one in America and, of course, here.
And in Canada also.
When in Canada,
we have Na'amat.
Okay, so it's all over the world. Yep. Okay, so Na'amat put something together, and when someone asked me, I'm not working right now. I'm working, but I'm like I used to do about 7 days. I worked 6 days a week, like Sunday to Thursday, with different things. And obviously I'm not on whole fish now because some of my clients are left. But I was working a lot, and now the days I was working, it's open up for various reasons. And they asked me, could I volunteer? And I said yes. So I'm volunteering, and I'm there with them. But to be honest, they're there with me. They're lifting me up so much. They're giving me so much enjoyment and good vibes. So I'm really happy about it. It's so wonderful.
It is good to hear you say that, because I think we are also, especially those of us who are in the diaspora, we are immersed in grief and in sorrow, and it's hard to find any bit of joy out of what is happening. I don't know if joy is the word I would use, but you know what I'm getting at. And I think that inherently is the difference between being in the diaspora and being in Israel. And it really shows the power and the mindset and the resilience of Israelis to find positivity and to connect, and to hear you say it in such a positive way, what is happening.
Look, I'm going to say, we're having funerals and shivas, we're beyond our shilushim, and every day there's something. But the reality of it is, we have soldiers on the ground right now, and we have to keep the morale of our country, Israel, high. The Jewish people have been here 3,000 plus years, and these have been stories. We had, leaving Egypt, we had the Pharaoh and all this stuff, and Amalek, and this is not new to the Jewish people. It may be new to us, but it's not new to our people. And so at the end of the day, the Jewish pride will always come through, and the Jewish joy, it is a sword. It is prohibited, a sword, to be sad on Shabbat. You cannot be sad on Shabbat. So even if you are sad all week, you are prohibited to be sad on Shabbat. So there is just this thing that you have to do, and so we are, but we also understand that this is what's going on in our country. And so That's it. But we are warriors and we are built for this. And Hashem put us in this. There's no one else that can be resilient like the Jewish people. People have tried to kill us and break us and do us and whatever, but we still here and we're still going to be here. And so that is joyful in just that, knowing that we are here and we will be here. And so it is a different vibe. And I will tell you from living in Jerusalem, it was a different vibe even for this last month. But slowly we're having joy. I'm seeing the people back in the streets with their guitars. And I'm going to say this, when I first made aliyah to Israel, I made aliyah to Hadera, and someone said to me, you're not really, getting a passport somewhere doesn't make you that person. It's just a piece of paper, right? But the experience, and someone told me, you're not really Israeli until you've lost someone, because we're all connected. Like, we as a country come together. I went to a shiva of a woman who was she's a widow, and she lost her only 2 boys, her only kids. She lost at the Nova Festival, and everyone came in. We have WhatsApps. There is a shiva here. There are a lone soldier. Blah blah blah. We are here together, and so it is just who we are. And this has been 7 years, and I lost a friend at Nova. My friend Jake made aliyah, and he was working security at Nova, and he saved people, but he was murdered. And Shlomi, who was also working, who was a friend of mine, was working that same event. He is actually kidnapped. So we're all affected. It's not like, we're all affected in some way, but we have to create some joy. We have to have a piece of joy. Because if we don't have joy, that's not Am Israel. Am Israel we are going to be singing and dancing because that is who we are, period. And it's hard, but we're going to do it.
Oh, Chaya, we need more of you. We need to hear more of this message. We need to hear more of this. I think, that's the piece that's really missing for those of us in the diaspora, to actually hear that. Because I'm so concerned.
That's why being in the diaspora, Am Israel has legs, and we have a heart and a soul, and our heart and soul is Jerusalem, and this is where we are. But you're in the diaspora. You are with us. You feel what we feel, and you feel even more sadness because you don't have that set up the way it is, because you also have this world around you that is like people tearing down posters. Like, I just walked through Ben Gurion Airport, and there were posters like no one would dare. You tear down a poster, we're going to beat your ass right there on spot. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's hot on spot. The other one don't you dare. So, like, you can't mourn properly, because even we're having a hard time mourning because people won't let us mourn. Like, but you have a harder time because you're on the outside, but you are on legs, and we are with you. And for all of the craziness of the Jewish community in the North America, and the hardships that Jews of colors feel like they go through, even in times like this, we are connected. Actually, we're always connected. Whatever. You don't think I'm a Jew because I'm brown. That's just stupid. That's dumb diaspora. That's colorism from the country. You can't get around that. But at the end of the day, we are Am Israel, and we are here, and you are in pain just like I'm in pain. And you probably suffering harder because you don't have those tools, and you can't feel like you really, so whatever, like, we're doing our best. At the end of the day, we're doing our best.
Well, here, let me ask you a question, because I kind of want your advice on this, because, you're living in Israel. You've also lived in the diaspora. You know what it's like to be in the diaspora, to deal with the anti-Semitism, to deal with the misinformation, to deal with basically the crap that some of us hear day in and day out. You also know what it's like to be a Jew of color in the diaspora. And like you said, you have those ridiculous misconceptions people have about being Jewish and so on, and living and dealing with that nonsense. So what advice, just to kind of set it up a bit, I heard of this young lady who is kind of struggling with being a Jew of color and having grown up with the challenges of that, but also now dealing with being bombarded by misinformation about how Jews and Israelis are the bad guys, and really kind of feeding into that notion, but and really following social media that is very negative propaganda and discounting voices that are not people of color and saying things like, well, you're just spewing out more crap, more pro-Israel crap that has no merit. How would you go about helping someone in that situation to understand at a deeper level what is going on and not just drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak?
The biggest thing that I want everyone to understand is it's no size that you pick. You don't have to be, I'm pro-Palestinian, right? So I believe that the Palestinian people there is no Israel without the Palestinian people, and there is no Israel without the Jewish people. And I believe that the Palestinian people need better leadership. And, so it's not, we that live along the land, Israel wants peace, but we also 100% will not stand for terror, period. I don't give a damn. We're not standing for terror. So people need to understand that you don't have to be pro-Israel and anti-Palestinian. We want the Palestinian people to be okay. We know that there's beautiful Palestinian people that are good people. However, Hamas is a damn donkey. They acting foolish, and that's it. They acting like fools. They acting like wild beasts, and you see what they did. It was a savage attack. So I think people need to understand that this, first of all, people always make Israel a bipartisan issue. Like, can you imagine, like, you travel to America, like, I'm in Barcelona. I said, people said, where are you? I said, I'm American. Oh, wow, Hollywood. Oh, wow, I love New York. You travel as Israeli people, they make it your politics as a human being. And, I always say, I'm traveling, and I travel only with my Israeli passport, okay? I'm not afraid to be Israeli, and I will speak up and talk, about being Israeli. But at the end of the day, know who you are. Whoever's having issues, they need to know who they are. But most importantly, they need to study Torah. They need to study Torah because that's what Hashem wants, and then and to need to learn, and they need to study history. Because if you know your history and you know everything, you can't be touched. You can't be touched. That's why that's why Black people back in the day, they didn't want us to read, because when we read, we smart. We say, you can't tell us what the hell, you stupid. We reading it, we know that's not what you said is not true. Educate yourself on the matter. Talk to Israeli, talk to Palestinians, talk to people in this region. I don't want to talk to a Palestinian living in London. I'm sorry. What the hell's wrong? I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to, talk to people that live in this region and learning. Well, I work with Arabs, I work with Israelis, I work with Palestinians. I have my experiences. I have to learn and grow from these people. So when somebody's calling me from, whatever, and they're like, oh, what do we do? Talk to people and learn and understand, that way you feel confident when someone comes to you and tries to snatch your edges, then you're ready for them. But if you don't know, if you're uneducated, then that's it. You don't know.
That's a good point. And I think part of it is, there's something that you said just made me think. We have made it like an us and them issue, but it's not.
Oh, yes,
they have made it an us and them issue, but they've made it an us versus Palestinian issue, as opposed to an us versus terrorism versus Hamas.
Exactly.
They put
exactly.
and both groups have done that, and I think and the media has taken it and run with it and made it an issue about having to pick a side and having to either say you're pro-Palestinian or anti-Palestinian, as opposed to looking at the root of it, which is terrorism, full stop. And I think that's part of the traction.
But I will say this, if you talk to an Israeli, Israelis are not anti-Palestinian, though. Israelis understand that Hamas is not Palestinian. Hamas is their ruling body. But we understand the Palestinian people are the people. So at the end of the day, anybody saying they're anti-Palestinian, that's problematic. I don't care if they're Jewish or Israeli or whatever. We're not anti-Palestinian, but we're not about to let the people that's, they keep the Hamas is killing their own people.
Mhm.
They're murdering their own. They put their weapons underneath the hospital. Who the hell does that? That's a war crime. And everything. This is what I find funny, that everything that people say the Jews do, you do. You lie. Those are fake pictures. You're a liar. You do fake. You do Hollywood.
Yeah.
No, that's you. Everything they say we do, actually, it's what they do. We are protecting ourselves. And unfortunately, there are children dying on the other side, but they don't want to talk about, they started this shit. They started this war. They broke the ceasefire on the 6th or the 7th. So, you know what? Learn to keep your hands to yourself. You cannot slap the mess out of somebody. If I slap your face right now, if I pop you in the face,
I'm popping you back.
I don't know how you want to react.
I'm popping you back.
No.
I'll let you know that right now.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's called self-defense.
So imagine you slapping the shit out of me back and no one talks about me popping you in the face.
No, that's the thing.
That's what you sound like with Israel. You want to talk about what Israel's response, but talk about Hamas. Talk about how they're putting their own people in danger. The reason we have Iron Dome is because Israel protects its citizens. We know we live next to homicidal, psychopathic, genocidal maniacs. So we have a position called the Iron Dome. And when you pop off that rocket that you used from the water pipes that you were supposed to give your people fresh water, and you decided to use fuel, and you would do this and pop off in Israel, we have, it is the literal Ike Turner, the crazy psychotic boyfriend that is manipulative, and we're not playing games, and that's why I'm exactly happy. I've never been happy for Israel to not do a ceasefire. We're not ceasing nothing. Give us our hostages back, because you shouldn't have brought your ass over here and murder people and put babies in ovens and raped people to where their bodies were broken. You think we about to ceasefire? You done lost your donkey mind. I'm serious right there. And when I say donkey, I'm talking about because of donkey. You acting like a hee-haw donkey. You're acting like Shrek. You're acting a fool. You're acting like Shrek Springs. We're not doing it because you started, and I mean that.
I hear you. I hear you.
I'm so serious.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Tell all your friends, and you know why? Because the Jewish people, we are trying our best. We are trying to live with love and light. The people that were murdered in that kibbutz were some of the most liberal, taking Palestinians to the doctor, dropping leaflets, say we love you, and look what they got. They didn't deserve it. So I'm going to go and tell you right now, I'm not going to be so liberal that you're going to come over here and try mass murder it. It's over. You did too much. Now, we're going to handle it from there on. And unfortunately, yes, there are going to be some deaths, because guess what? It's war. That's why you don't start no shit. Won't be nothing. But since they started, we're going to have to finish it. That's the end.
All right.
That's my position. That's what I'm holding. Anybody can ask me that. You can ask my mama that. I'll tell you in your face. Don't put your hands on nobody's property, and you won't have to deal with the repercussions. That's it.
That's like a law you learned as a kid, like you said.
Get into it. Don't put your hand on people's stuff, and then you won't have to deal with the repercussions. And I'm not going to keep arguing with nobody about it. That's the end. And Israel's going to protect her people, which are filled with non-Jews, Jews, Arabs, Muslims, Christians, blah, 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 blah. As you can see, we had some Thai nationals. Not saying you can't be Thai and Jewish, but I'm telling you, they were not, and they were here working, living their best life. We had some Sri Lankans murdered, kidnapped. We're going to protect everybody.
I think, and you just hit on something right there. You just hit on something right there, which people tend to forget, is that Israel is the home of a Jewish people, but it is not solely Jewish people. And I think people forget that Israel is protecting whoever is within the borders, whoever is in Israel. Like you said, Jews, non-Jews, Christians, Muslims, doesn't matter. They are deemed worthy of protection in the state of Israel. Full stop. And I think people are missing that bit.
And it's really sad that you have to say that, like, oh, it's not just Jews here. We have other people. It's a damn shame that we have to point out that other people live here, because if it was just Jews, they would really want to kill us. And you know what? I once again, I have to tell you, with all due respect and with all due love, I have so much love for my people, and I really, really will not play with anybody who wants to talk about the Palestinians that doesn't want to take responsibility for their leaders. And I will not play with anybody that doesn't want to talk about Jordan. And really, Jordan is Palestine, but we're not going to talk about that. And we're not going to talk about the Arab Empire. And you cannot come and talk to me about Palestinians until you're ready to talk about
everybody.
After that, it's irrelevant to me. I don't talk facts. There's enough people out there that you can get into in facts, but the world doesn't want facts. They don't care. They hate Jews. But guess what? We've been here 3,000 plus years, baby, and we ain't going nowhere. So you can just be a hater all your effing life, but get ready to be mad all of your effing life, because we Jews, whether we black, white, Mexican, Chinese, African, however we present, we ain't going nowhere, baby. And that's the end of that.
Wow. I think we can end on that powerful note. I thank you. You fired me up. I really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoy your energy, your joy, your passion, and I cannot wait to meet you, my sister, in Yerushalayim.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. Oh, let's do it. I can't wait to meet you.
Indeed. So again, thank you so much for coming on Rivkush.
Thank you for having me, Rivkush. You're the queen.
Rivkush is hosted by me, Rivka Campbell. We're produced and edited by Michael Freeman. Our theme music is by Westside Gravy. We're proudly sponsored by the Canadian Race Relations Foundation and hosted by the CJN Podcast Network. If you like this episode, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. To support our work and everything else the CJN does, visit thecjn.ca/donate to make a monthly donation and receive a charitable tax receipt. Thanks for listening.
Scattered in the wind, never scattered too thin. To remember where we come from and the gold that's within. Zahav Yerushalayim, Asur Lishkoach, HaKdushat ha'aretz shenoten lanu koach. Scattered in the wind, never scattered too thin. To remember where we come from and the gold that's within.
The Dunfield Retirement Residence offers customized living options to complement your independent, active lifestyle. Welcome home. Welcome to the Dunfield. Visit us at thedunfield.com to book a personal tour.